Hey guys, Reuben Williams here, founder of SportsGrad. Back in the day, I landed a job at Cricket Australia on the Monday after my final university exam. And then 3 years later, when COVID hit and my job was made redundant, rather than looking for work for months on end, I was headhunted into a role that doubled my salary. I'm not telling you this to brag, I'm telling you because there is a method to it. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. For example, Lucas Viana, one of our members, called the SportsGrad method a cheat code, and another member, Sasha Brahim, she called it magic. And honestly, I'll take that. Now, most people spend years trying to break into sport and never figure out why it is not working. And so the reason that this podcast exists is to change that. Every week, I'm going to share some real moments from real coaching calls that are unfiltered, unscripted, so you get a taste for the kind of work that has helped people land over 800 roles in sport and counting. If you're ready to stop guessing and start moving in the right direction and go after the career that you've always wanted, apply for the SportsGrad Method program at sportsgrad.com.au. Now, let's get into it. What I want to introduce you to tonight, and where I hope that everyone gets to, is a place where you can identify as an off-field athlete. I mentioned this last week in our kickoff session that, we all understand who the on-field athletes are. And we all understand what it takes for those on-field athletes to get to where they are. Usually when we look at, someone like Carlos Alcaraz, we see someone who's, worked with a coach for a long, long time, in which case it was his dad. And you think about the amount of dedication, the amount of hours that he's put in and sacrifice to get to where he is. Or you think of Novak Djokovic and the longevity that he has had in his career to win 24 Grand Slams and be competing at the Australian Open for 21 years. There are certain things that he does and does not do to be able to have that sort of sustained level of success. And there are certain things that we can do behind the scenes as well to operate at the level that we want to become as professionals too. And so to try and identify what a few of those core things are at a macro level before we get into the micro of what they look like. One thing that we developed years ago was this trademark. Leading Teams is a leadership organization that has worked with just about every single AFL club in Australia. And what they do is they work with a organization to help develop a trademark based on what they want to be known for. So, for example, the most famous one that they have helped develop is the Sydney Swans, the Bloods. And basically, when you walk into the Sydney Swans, you know what is expected of you. And so we had a very generous guy called Gavin Marnie reach out to us back in 2020. He's like, Reuben, I want to help you develop your trademark, not only for yourself, but also for SportsGrad. And still to this day, I've got a personal trademark that I still refer to thanks to the help of Gav. But he helped us think about, what does the average, what do we want SportsGrad people to embody when we go into the world? Because again, we're going to be vouching for you guys when people think about who they're going to hire next. We want them to think about people coming from SportsGrad. And we want them to think about a very specific set of things that a SportsGrad person embodies every single time. And so our trademark is what we want to be known for and the behaviors that exemplify this. And what we came up with the help of members and staff and a bunch of other people too, were these 4 things. So the first one is build a world-class network. The behavior we want to use to exemplify this is prioritizing building relationships with everyone. One of the reasons why this not only does this help you get in the door, but also helps you be more effective in your role. For example, David Pryles is the CEO of Hockey Australia these days. But when he was making a career change from investment banking into sport, his first jump was into a commercial manager role at Cricket Victoria. And one of the things that he used to sell himself into the role and say, this is why I'd be super valuable for you, was his network. So not only is your network an asset to the opportunities that presents itself to you, but it's also an asset to you being able to do the job effectively. And if you are already arriving with a network, it's just an extra draw card. Second one, which Woody, I'm glad you alluded to this, is show initiative and move fast, which looks like if you have an idea, don't wait, do it now. I can't tell you how much I love it when someone in our team comes up with an idea and their response is, Reuben, I've already done it. Here's how it went, or here's what I learned. Rather than like, should we do it? Maybe, yes, no. Like the faster you can take action, break things if you have to, or if it goes well, like amazing too. Um, the quicker you're going to learn, the faster you're going to develop. And particularly in the sports industry, it is an incredibly fast-paced industry. For example, if you're working for your favorite AFL club and you've got a game day on Saturday, and someone's got a new idea for an activation because of something that's just recently happened in the news, like your ability to turn that around is going to determine your how successful you are in the job. If you think about some of the best marketing campaigns, they are like reactive to what's going on in the moment. And so if you can build this muscle of using your initiative, of moving fast, not waiting for things, when you get into the industry and you are now thrown into this incredibly high-paced environment, you're not going to sink, you're going to swim. So we want to make sure that we're embodying that early on. Third one is be customer obsessed. So go above and beyond for the people that you serve. This one, if you look at Jeff Bezos, this is one that he talks about regularly with Amazon. If you want to, create something that is incredible, talk to customers regularly, go above and beyond for them so they're continuously getting the most out of your product or service or sport or team, whatever you offer, go and above and beyond for these people. So for example, if you can start to do that now, if you get thrown into a membership role at the Richmond Tigers, for example, and all of a sudden you've got to deal with, an angry customer for whatever reason they got the wrong membership, or they didn't get that hat, they didn't get the scarf, and if you can go above and beyond to make sure that they get what they need and they have a happy experience, you're going to make your boss incredibly happy, and they will remember that. Trust me when I say, like, they will remember the times that you go above and beyond for the customers that you serve. And then the fourth one is share your story. So bring people on the journey by sharing what's going on in your world. Sport is inherently sport and storytelling go hand in hand. People buy more into the stories that are happening on the field than perhaps even what's actually happening on the field in isolation. And so, particularly if you are working in a role that requires you to communicate and tell stories, whether it be in marketing or social media or journalism, whatever, if you can start to get used to telling your own story, it'll make you much more effective when it comes to telling others as well. On top of that, you'll actually start to enjoy your own career journey a lot more too, because you start to get people bought into your journey, and the people who help you on the way check in and be like, hey, how you going with this? Or remember when you did that? But if you kind of keep it all closeted to yourself and just wait for, your moment of success where you finally get the job, then no one really knows what it took. And if no one knows what it took or what you're going through at the same time, it's impossible for people to help you. So what we want to embody and make a regular thing as part of our off-field athletes is a set of people who share their story regularly that people can connect with. So this is the trademark for SportsGrad. And the idea with the trademark is that you can wrap up these behaviors and characteristics in one tidy little word that you can remember. And so for us, we came up with the off-field athletes. We know what the athlete on the field looks like. We want to be the athletes off the field.
When you say share your story, does that mean like sharing your personal struggles as well? And it can be unrelated to what you want to do or like about sports.
Yeah, so we'll get heavy into this when we get to the headhunted system, which is in a couple of weeks' time. But there are many different ways you can share your story. Doesn't have to be like, this is what I'm suffering through.
Yeah, no, what I mean is like, let's say on Instagram that I create content and I share a story about like how I became a runner, but like I used to play soccer and I got injured and I had to stop pursuing that and I got into long distance running. Is that like a good example of that?
Yeah, that would be an example, like what introduced you to long
Yeah.
distance running. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But like in the early days when I was creating content on LinkedIn, I would share like, some of the stories that I shared with you tonight, like, what got me into Cricket Australia, what got me into the Hawthorn Football Club, what a conversation with Wayne Oswald did for my career, those sort of things. So one of the reasons why I want to touch on this is because when you can embody the identity and the characteristics of the off-field athlete, it helps with a lot of the macro levers that are shifting your career. So I'm going to introduce you into the micro levers that shift your career. And these are very measurable things that we will track and look to optimize in the same way that, if the marketers on here, you might try and optimize a marketing campaign by understanding the different steps in the campaign that lead to the outcome you're looking for. But to start with, I want to introduce you to the macro levers shifting your career. So number one is your purpose. If you understand the purpose you are connected to, it becomes much easier to take steps forward that you need to take. For example, you can have all the willpower in the world and force yourself to do things, but when you truly connect with the purpose that you are aligned with, it's kind of like the opposite feeling. It feels like you're being pulled in that direction. And now, you're riding a bike downhill rather than trying to ride a bike uphill. And so the closer you can connect with that, the more you'll start to feel that gravitational shift where moving your career becomes smoother. And so we're going to help you through this program, connect with that as we go. Second one is vision. If you don't have a clear vision for what you're aiming for, then any direction will look like progress. I've definitely been there in the past where I'm like, I don't really know where I'm going, but I'll just do something to make myself kind of feel like I'm, being productive. And at the same time, it's not, it's kind of like a false sense of security where you feel like you're making progress, but you can, deep down, you can kind of feel yourself spinning your tires in the mud. Whereas when you've got a clear vision of where you want to go and what that looks like, the steps become obvious and the roadmap kind of reveals itself. And yes, it kind of takes time to understand what is actually possible. But through this program, we're going to help you uncover what is possible for your career if you're still figuring that out, or get super tight on what that looks like for you so that the actions that you need to take become obvious. Third one is a community. So you guys have got that immediately. And if you've done this, if you've tried to pursue a career in sport on your own in the past, you might have felt, how lonely it can be when you're trying to answer these questions on your own. But when you are surrounded by, there's 160 odd people in the SportsGrad Method program that you can message through the platform at any given time. When you've got other references to check in on and you've got other people who are doing a similar thing to you that you can bounce ideas off, your feedback loop for information and what's working and what's not working becomes much tighter, and it becomes, again, easier to do what you need to do. On top of that, it becomes a lot more inspiring to do it as well. If you, one thing we've noticed with people in the program is that when someone gets a win and they share it in the community, it inspires other people to be like, oh shit, Sasha got a job in sports, in channel operations. That means if she can do it, I can do it too. And, everyone's kind of motivating each other and it becomes this, virtuous cycle. And so if you've got that community, it becomes much, much easier. And so I'm glad that you guys are here to experience that. The next thing we're going to give you is a plan. So, as I said before, each level of my career required a new strategy and a new approach to level up. And as we go through this, we're going to give you a very methodical step-by-step method that you can take so that if you do not know what to post on LinkedIn on how to tell your story, for example, Tarun, we're going to tell you exactly what to do. Or if you've never reached out to someone for a networking opportunity, we're going to tell you exactly what to say. Or if you've got no idea what you want to do with your career and you're still trying to figure out your career direction, we have a process to that too. It's why it's called the SportsGrad method. We're trying to give you a method for absolutely everything. And so when you're trying to chase a career without a plan, it's like, opening up Google Maps and being like, hey, can you take me home? But you're completely lost. And the fifth one we're going to get into is belief. And what I love about this one is that if you can get clear on the first four, belief starts to lift naturally. If you feel yourself connect closer with your purpose and get tighter on your vision, you've got a community around you and you've got a plan to get there, what is your belief in yourself going to do? It's going to go up, right? Very rarely have I seen it go backwards. And once you've got that self-belief in you, it becomes much easier to do the things that you need to do. And again, I'll keep repeating this time and time again, but a lot of this program is about taking the right kind of action and self-belief. Morgan Mitchell, Olympian, came on the podcast and said, self-belief is a hell of a drug. And so that's one thing that I really hope that you get out of this program. When you start to tick all the boxes of the macro levers and you start to embody the identity of an off-field athlete, what we find is that off-field athletes get hired again and again and again. When you're able to connect with all those levers and complete those behaviors, we've found that people that basically no aspiration in sport right around the world is impossible, which is why SportsGrad members gone on to work in the Premier League, Formula One, cricket, you name it, right across the globe. And so I'm excited to see where you guys take your career by taking the first step by being part of this program. All right, guys, that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it. If you want to learn directly from me and our other SportsGrad coaches who are working directly in the industry, then jump into the SportsGrad Method program. Once you're inside, you'll also get access to the entire SportsGrad Method curriculum that comes with a 90-day roadmap so you know exactly what to do next. There is a step-by-step system to this. You do not have to think of what to do. We have thought of it all for you. Plus, you can tap into the SportsGrad network and get introductions to the people that might be hard to meet for you at the moment. Plus, you'll be surrounded by the wonderful SportsGrad community who are all helping each other get closer to their goals as well. So the results speak for themselves. Have a look at the website if you want to check it all out, but we'd love to see you inside and receive your application. See ya.